this call, and basically we're just going to understand how their experience, if it's a good fit for us at the academy, if we want to apply. And for people, like I mentioned, we're going to be having Renee and Bright. So if you're on the call, please unmute so we can see you. Renee, are you on the call?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I,
Nice
I
to
lost you a bit.
meet
I lost you a bit there, but I think you said that I should
you.
say hi.
Okay.
Yes, hello everyone.
Yes. Okay, can you hear me now? My internet is on. Okay. Is Priyal on the call? Okay, we'll send a message to Priyal. It's Wissam on the call.
Okay, what I'm going to do is highlight
Okay, what's
all the people that,
right.
oh my God. I'm going to highlight all the people that are part of the SIF Fellows. So kindly open your camera so I can like put you on the screen. So we know who we're talking to. Right. Thanks everyone for coming. I'm sorry for the connection issues. What else? Ria's here as well. Did I miss any of the fellows? Dean?
I'm here too.
All right, thank you so much.
All
Okay,
right.
so are
No,
you
complete. Or yeah. Yes,
Great.
I'm ready. Okay, so hi everyone. Like we said, we're having a workshop with the Climate Investments Fund Youth Fellows. So we have Renee, we have Bright, we have Priyal, and then we have Wissam. So I'm going to leave it open to them to introduce themselves and basically just tell us who they are, what country they're coming from, and your education background, because I believe this is important in this scenario. So over to you. Let's start with you, Renee. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hey, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Renee. I am from Trinidad and Tobago, but I have been living in Jamaica for 10 years. That's where I did the fellowship. I also did my degree in Jamaica. I did geography and geology and development studies. After which I worked for a mineral exploration company, and then I transitioned into an engineering firm right before doing the fellowship.
All right, thank you, Renee. Bright, over to you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me well? Good, right? Okay. Yes. My name is Pawatapoom, or you can call me Bright. In short, I'm from Thailand. Currently, also based in Bangkok. Yeah. So my academic backgrounds, I study international relations. In Thailand. And then after that, right after I finished my bachelor degree, I got a job with GISAT Thailand, working in Academy for International Cooperation, which is like the training center. Climate resilient water resources management and a data-based solution project with GISAT almost 4 years. And then after that, I got a scholarship to study in Costa Rica and Philippines on environment, development, and peace, specialization in climate change and social development for 2 years. I also interned with UNFCCC for 6 months on communication, intern. Yeah, so I think that's my academic and professional background.
All right, thank you. Over to you, Wissam.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Wissam Jawadi. I'm from Tunisia. I'm a georesource and environment engineer, graduated from the National Engineering School of Sfax here, Tunisia. I'm also holding a master degree in sustainable blue economy from the University of Trieste, Italy. I worked in like multinational project like in the OGS, Oceanographic Geo and Apply Science in Trieste, Italy, and I worked here in a lot of local project like the desalination company in Zara, Tunisia. I worked in the private sector for 4 years here in Sepal Metallurgy and Mechanics before starting the fellowship with the World Bank and the CIF. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Priyal, over to you.
Yes. Hi, my name is Priyal and I'm from India. I have my education is actually all business based with my BBA and my MBA, but with a specialization in finance. I worked in mergers and acquisitions before I decided that I would want to transition to climate, which was when I sort of, and I don't have any real education in specifically climate. I did a couple of online courses to see, where my interest would be. I tried to use all my transferable skills to work with a climate forward company first, and then just went about 2 or 3 years trying to figure where I would be. So I did carbon data research. I was a program manager. I was a decarbonization and net zero lead. And I also worked as a sustainability strategist before actually starting as a clean energy consultant with RMI India right before my work with the fellowship. So for me, it was a lot of experimentation to sort of see, what I would like to do. And then I found the fellowship, and climate finance and renewable energy were both my area of interest. So, yes.
All right, great. Okay, so I'm going to start with you, Priyal. Can you tell me your experience or how would you describe your experience as a youth fellow? So how was it like being part of the fellowship at CIF?
So the best thing about the fellowship is that it places you right in the middle of a team that is already working on these projects. So you really work as one of the team members, as a consultant. Particularly for me, I did not feel like a youth um, as a youth fellow that was placed in the team. I was just expected to learn on the job and do as much as the team was doing. Of course, working with the World Bank's energy and extractives team in India meant you work on really large scale projects. So it was a bit of a learning curve, but I think you get the hang of it, and the CIF team is really helpful. To just sort of give you an overview of what my work really was like, I helped the team in execution of projects. I contributed to national dialogues, representing the team at different events. I helped prepare knowledge products and also document the impact and progress of the grid-connected rooftop solar programs. And happy to talk more about the projects if you're interested.
Yes, we are interested actually. So the project you worked on, can you share like more insights into it? What project did you do? Were you able to complete it? Just give us an overview.
So yes, I did work with particularly grid-connected rooftop solar programs across sectors. It was so when I joined, it was the last year for the uh, the project that was working towards the commercial and industrial sector, and we were just starting out for medium, small, micro enterprises as well as residential rooftop solar. So in a country like India, where we see approximately 300 days of the sun, it just makes sense to gravitate towards solar. And because the World Bank had already had 7 or 8 years of work with the industries, with the large scale industries, and now was the time where rooftop your solar panels were cheap enough for residential consumers to afford. This just made sense to do this. And I just want to give one little background that I thought was very fascinating, was that working with the World Bank works on development sectors to sort of bring private capital to make these sector is investable. So it will include your policy, it will include structuring your projects, it will include talking to the consumer, it will you will have to talk to think tanks to see what problems there are, how you can solve it, what product will actually solve it, what finance mechanism is required for people to adopt it, and then all of this will come together only if it is actually beneficial to the consumer, if it makes any economic sense to them, cost benefit to them, and not just because it's good for the environment. So I mean, it was exciting to see how many um, things happen at once, everything that's required, and then you work with the government and the bureaucracy um, to bring these in as well. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Priya. Okay, over to you, Wissam. What can you say? How can you describe your own experience, and then what projects do you say you worked on?
Okay, so I will always try to keep my answer short so the other participants don't feel bored. So I really like two things about this opportunity. First thing was like working under high elite professional that understand and know how to work in group and know how to react with you, because they know that you are youth or young people that start your career, so they adapt with your abilities, they know what task they give you, so working with those people is very amazing. The second thing is that you really feel that you are a consultant, because when you're in the field or writing a report or give a document, the client will listen to you and will work with your strategy. So if you succeed, they will greet you, but if you failed, all the responsibility will be on you. So those are the two things that I really like about this fellowship.
Okay, yeah. So, can you touch on any project you worked on while you were in the fellowship? Did you have the
Okay,
opportunity to
yeah.
work with
I
any?
worked on two projects. The first project was Eco Sun, which helped farmer to use solar pumping energy, where because here in Tunisia in the south we're really facing an issue with water because the lack of rain and the high temperature causing problem for the farmers. So what we tried to do was, the project was where IFC, the International Finance Corporation where I work, gave loan to the microcredit company, and the microcredit company give loan to the farmers so they can change their old ways and outdated traditional ways to bring water, like using trucks or tank or everything. So it was really challenging because the farmers were like traditional thinking, so convincing them to change their ways was really hard. So working with them and like being with them step by step so you can gain their trust was really one of the challenges that I faced. Also, the second project was a research project where we work with the value chain of the olive oil and the dairy here in Tunisia to help the company and the microcredit company that is one of IFC client, where to invest their money exactly.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, over to you, Bright. Can you also share like what project you worked on and just an overview on how would you rate your experience at the fellowship?
Yes, my project that I was working on was called Greater Mekong Sub-Region Climate Change and Environmental Sustainability Program, which focused on 5 countries in Southeast Asia: Vietnam, Thailand, Laos, Myanmar, um, and also China. And yeah, so part of my work involved on youth engagement and climate action directly. So on a daily basis, what I have to think of is that like how to come up with strategies on how to engage youth in these countries to contribute to, let's say, the 16 under this big project, like for example, climate and disaster resilience, low carbon transition, and etc. So yeah, I have to come up with some kind of strategies, think about knowledge product or communication outreach strategy on how these young people are aware of the climate impact on the ground. Yeah, so I think my overall experience, I think it was quite difficult at the beginning when I started working because I have to navigate myself through how should I, add the value to the project because again, it was really new to me. I don't have any finance or economics background. So yeah, it was quite challenging. But once you know what you have to do. I think you can just go around it. Also ask your supervisors to help you navigate through the work. Yeah, so I think that would be the brief overall of my project.
All right, thank you very much, Bride. Over to you, Renee.
Okay, hi. So I will try to keep this as short as possible because it's a bit, I'm not sure if anyone from the Caribbean is here or if people are very familiar with the Caribbean. But from my experience, it was different to my colleagues because I was working more on a retrospective basis. I had to produce a knowledge product for a project that had been completed about 5 years ago. So instead of me just working on something that's happening right now, I had to work on something that happened before. So that meant that I had to get in touch with a lot of the stakeholders that would have been part of the projects to do so, which in itself was challenging. But of course, I had the support of my team. As my colleague said, it was less about being a youth and more about just being placed there as a member of the team fully. So that was very nice. I didn't feel like if they were like giving me less work to do, and that made it challenging, which is good. Challenges are good, right? It would help me have a really good fellowship overall. So I worked on 2 projects. So the first one is the knowledge product on something that's called a pilot program for climate resilience. And if we know about climate resilience, it's kind of tricky because it's much harder to measure or monitor than, let's just say, a mitigation project. So that also was interesting to me. So if I could give you an example of one of the small projects that fell under this pilot program would be the Met services. And that would have improved Met services across 6 countries in the Caribbean and then serve as a model for other countries in the Caribbean for adaptation. So that if there's a rainfall event, they have gauges in the river that will be able to immediately tell you, it's unsafe, and they would close the gorge to avoid any, tragedies from occurring. And since then, since it has been implemented, there have not been any, fatalities or anything of that sort. So that's one side of the project. There's a second project that's called the Special Climate Change Adaptation Fund. Those were small grants to smaller community projects. Also, of course, adaptation and resilience. I can give you an example. One of my favorites is the fishing community. They would fish for sprat, which is a small fish in the harbor. However, they would not be able to sell all of that fish within a day. They didn't have any cold storage. So they set up a solar powered refrigeration system for those farmers through that fund. So I think I got a good overall, I got a good feel of a lot of what the projects are like and some of the challenges that might come with it. Overall good experience.
All right, thank you so much, Renee. Okay, so based on everyone's responses, it's obvious that, or I want to believe that you people were able to make like a meaningful engagement during your time with it. But based on your academic background, I noticed that a lot of you don't have an experience in either finance or economics, except Priel, I believe. And then I just want to understand what motivated you, or what got you interested in climate finance? And considering you guys are also the very first set of fellows, why did you apply through CIF, or why did you apply for the CIF fellowship?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Okay, so I
There is a lot of
said
you, that's why.
you guys. Okay, yeah, sorry, it's fine.
So
I said you guys are the very first set of CIF fellows, and obviously that means there is no one before you, and there's no one you could ask questions about. Oh, how was it like? So it was more like you guys were taking a leap of faith, hoping that this fellowship would have been worth it. So I want to understand, why did you apply for the CIF fellowship? In case people here wondering, or maybe they want to apply next year, should they consider? I mean, I would consider it. It sounds fun, but outside that, yeah.
yeah, so I will answer this from my own respond was like, I worked here in Tunisia in the private sector for like 4 years, okay? So I felt like what I'm doing through the climate or through the environment was like very local, very Tunisian. I could not like work or make an impact or effect for in the world. So when I heard about this, the CEF fellowship, to be honest, I didn't know nothing about MDBs, CEF, World Bank, UN, nothing. But from the description of the program and the fellowship, I understand that this is a real big thing, because working with the World Bank and working with like this high entity can change your life, especially like being a part of this could be the next thing for me. So I took like 3 days to discover what I really want to do, to make investigation about what's this exactly. I contacted maybe 2 or 3 people from LinkedIn to understand what's CIF exactly. So I took 2 days vacation, to be honest, and I prepare everything. I redo my CV, a cover letter, all my certification, and I applied. And then I believe that after 2 months or 3 months, I forget about it. But then I have this interview, and by that time, I was in the program.
All right, thank you, thank you. Does anybody else want to share?
Okay, I'll
All right,
go.
right.
Yeah, so I think like for me, I've been building my career, my profile in climate change since I finished my bachelor. I worked in GIZ. I also interned with UNFCCC, so I'm always looking for something related to climate change, and in particular nature-based solution, because I had experience in nature-based solution before joining this. So I think I got to know these opportunities from my senior, who just dropped the link and then just disappeared. I didn't know about anything about this fellowship, and then I start to study about what they're looking for, what's MDB. I think similar to RISM. And then I just apply and go for it, because again, I think one of my professional experience is that I have a nature-based solution. So I was like, oh, there's a theme on nature-based solution, so why not just apply for it? Because I was also looking for a job after my master's over. And then all of a sudden they called me for interview, and here I was working with them for 1 year. So I think that would be my motivation.
All right, Priya, let's have you.
Hello.
Yes, Priya, it's your turn. Do you have something to share?
Yeah, sure. I think all of us just sort of stumbled upon this opportunity because it was the first time, like you said, and it wasn't very publicized. We didn't know what to expect. But for me, I mean, for most of us, we had the same background as the role that we took on. So I think that helps. I also know that next year it it can be any STEP funded project with MDBs. It doesn't have to be the same countries as it was with us. With our cohort, I think SIF was also figuring as to how they would make this successful. So they started with SIF funded projects in MDBs, and then which MDBs were looking for somebody to join their team in an ongoing project, and then sort of place us who would bring some experience in the same field onto that. But yes, for me, I also, like Wissam, took some time to write everything down. In fact, I was very keen on making the move because I was with an organization that wasn't committing to a raise, and I was looking for a pay hike. But yes, it was a great experience, and I think if they have a fellowship spot in your country, then you should definitely look to apply the UN. Working with the UN has perks as well. So just
All right, Renee.
Okay, for me, I also stumbled upon this fellowship, like on accident on the internet. I had just had a baby 3 months ago, by the way. And so I kept on on looking people, and I said, oh, Jamaica, I'm in Jamaica. And that's when I kind of decided that I'll go for it. I have a background, I have a business that is also in climate adaptation in agriculture, it's hydroponics. And I thought that was a good fit. I was working on that at the time, and I thought it would be a great fit for me to join something like that, especially since it was extremely challenging to get financing for that project. You know, I'm a young girl, I don't have that type of capital, or, you know, if I do have that type of capital, I have to sacrifice something else, maybe sacrifice a degree, you know. I didn't have money, so I thought it would be a great fit, and it turned out to be exactly what I needed. I learned a lot more about climate finance, especially in the region, because, you know, Jamaica serves the MDB in Jamaica serves many other islands because we kind of group it. So yeah, that's, I think for sure. Again, I don't know if they have any Caribbean people here, because usually there's none. But if you're from the Caribbean and the countries there are only like 3 countries that I would ever be able to be in based on where the MDBs are located. But definitely go for it. I maybe thought that while I was applying, I thought, you know, maybe the work that I have done wouldn't amount to anything compared to maybe some of the other applicants, but it turned out that, you know, I was doing good work. So, you know, if you think it'll be a good fit, definitely go for it.
All right, thank you so much. Renee, I don't know if we have a Caribbean on the academy, but I do know that we have a Caribbean volunteer. I'm sure of that. Yes, I'm
Okay.
very sure. All right. All right. Okay, so my next question is just basically, so everyone in the academy is within the ages of 18 to, we do notice that. Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, okay. All right, perfect. So everyone within the academy is within the ages of 18 to 35. And I want to know if it's the same thing as what we did SIF. Is it the same as 18 to 35?
I think we had an age limit of 28 or 29 or something like that. We had
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
because
okay,
I
okay.
think
That's good to know.
they needed you to be um, graduated, I think a few years ago, or I'm not sure. But there was definitely a shorter age limit.
Yeah, real age, I believe that was like between 22 and 30. I remember this in the last year application.
Okay, 22 and 30, perfect. Okay, so for the Climate Finance Academy, it's actually 18 to 35, although I don't know if we have an 18 years old. That'd be fun to check. But anyway, what I'm trying to ask is, we do understand that we're youth, and most times when you get to these big spaces and when you're trying to make an impact, there's always a perception they would have of you. Do you understand? So I want to understand from your own point of view and from your experience, do you think you experienced that anyway? And do you think you were able to make like a meaningful impact to the team you joined? So does anybody want to go first? I don't know if you got my question.
Sure, I did.
The
I do
question.
understand the question. I would say that yes, I did get that perception, but not from my team, not from anyone in the MDB. But remember, I mentioned that I had to work with some stakeholders. So usually the impression that they have of me, one, they're like saying, you know, like, you know, what are you working on? Is it that important? It's kind of like less important than what they're doing. That's the impression that I got. But I will say that my team members definitely stuck up for me. Like as the older, more, you know, they've been in the profession longer, you know, they say, hey, this is Renee, and she will be doing X, Y, Z. And, you know, once that's said, I'm able to do, but they do have a little bit of reservation to me as a very young person working in that field, you know. Usually you don't get into these MDBs before 35 or older.
All right, thank you. Bryce, do you want to share? Did you have this, or were you given this perception that, oh, because you were youth, people look at you differently, or they
Yes,
didn't expect
definitely. I
this?
think I think I mean, speaking from someone from Asia, I think we have this perception, you know, like when you are younger, sometimes I mean you don't know much. And I think maybe it's also true in my case because it's really my first time working in the field of climate finance. I was working with my supervisor who is almost retired. He's really high level. And yeah, every time I mean I consult everything with him, I mean I always have the question that sometimes I cannot even answer because, you know, like he think from another perspective, I think from youth perspective. So sometimes there's I also have to balance myself, you know, in terms of taking his advice, also providing him advice from young person who just work in Asian Development Bank. So yeah, I think most of the time, I mean, he also referred to me. Actually, in my case, we have two Thai, so me and also another colleague. He always referred to us as intern, not even CIF youth, because again, we don't really have experience in this field. So I think I have those impression of, oh, you're young, you just join ADB, you know. So, but I think the perk of being youth, being young, is that they always give you advice, always realize that, oh, you're young, it's okay to make mistakes. You know, it's not like you are senior and, you know, when you make mistake, there's a lot of feedback on you. But again, you are just youth. So I think I have that actually throughout my fellowship, yeah, which I see it as, you know, there's an advantage and also disadvantage coming from both ways. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Bright. Wissam.
Uh, well, in my case, I'm a little different from the other fellows because I work with the International Finance Corporation, which don't have an office here in Tunisia. So I was their eyes and ears here in the field. So they have to completely trust me and work with me like like a big man. So they don't have any other choice. But to be honest, that was a huge responsibility because I was working alone to a lot of times, and I have like to make videos and image every time as a traceability and prove my working. But the good things that sometimes they're sending this consultant from Egypt, which was really help for me, especially the first two field mission. And no, I don't believe that I faced that issue with my supervisor, especially because one of them is from Morocco and the other one from France. So all the work was basically remotely, and especially that I was the representative of IFC here in Tunisia with the clients, and they have a high lead client like microcredit companies and banks. So I have to represent, and they have to give me their full trust. So no, in my case, I believe I didn't face the same thing as the others.
All right, Priyal.
So like I said before, I don't think I was treated as a youth fellow. I was brought on and introduced as a consultant with the team. I don't know if it is region specific, but it usually is really competitive in workplaces in India. So they expect you to know what you're bringing to the table, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. So I feel like if I would reach out with specific questions, I would get some guidance. But for the most part of it was really like I needed to learn on the job and get the work done. Um, uh, so and also the team here in India is really small for the scale of projects and the number of projects we're working on with the World Bank. So everybody was always busy. Everyone was always out of office. Everyone was always taking meetings. Of course, some of the meetings I got to take with them, but then again, there was just less guidance, more expectations on deliverables. So that was my experience with my fellowship.
All right, thank you. So we're almost getting to the end of the part where I ask you questions, then the academic participants can ask you questions. So my last question is, what advice would you give young professionals that are seeking to work in MDBs or in the climate finance space more broadly? What advice would you give? Would
Can I
you
start?
maybe tell? Yeah, Wissam, you can start actually.
Okay, so I will keep it simple. Two things. First thing, integration, because a lot of us faced a lot of issue getting to the team, working with the project. like integration, like working with your supervisor, working with your colleague is very important, because the first impression is very important. If you lose that, then the entire mission will be bad and you'll face a lot of issues. Second thing, try to learn much and trying to get as long as you give, because, for example, they will count on you to work on reports, documents, talk to a lot of persons, sending a lot of emails, but also you have to help them. For example, if they're missing information, if they're missing technical skills and everything, you have to be there when they need you. In my case, these two things, as I said, integration and working and learning with the team.
All right, thank you, Wissam. Priya.
I think you, at least as per my experience, I can't limit the fellowship to say that it was just work in climate finance. I think you need to be ready to take on any area of work. So I did work on policy, but then I also spoke to people in the private sector and people in the government, and we were talking to international donors, but then also trying to figure how we can get this moving, and get approval from the DEA in the government. It wasn't obviously all my job, but this was everything that the team was working on. So I think you just need to be ready to, like Wissam said, learn and sort of take on any challenge. Um, Maybe one takeaway for me would also be to not be afraid of asking questions, and that can be an advice that I can. And if you don't get to meet people in person, just write an email, follow up on the email. Um, don't don't be afraid to reach out on LinkedIn. Out of 50 people, one person is bound to reply. Just getting into an MDB, I think is not very easy, because you either go through the young professional program, or you have to get, and it takes a lot to start working with an MDB, like as staff or as a consultant. So yeah, just keep a lookout for roles, and like Renee said, just don't underestimate what your experience can be of value.
All right, thank you, Priya. Renee, over to you.
I would say one of the biggest things that you have to have, before you think about taking on something like this, is the trust in yourself that you're a responsible person. That basically, I always say, if not me, then who? So I'm not going to say rely on yourself, but you need to know that you are mature enough, reliable enough, because when you get in there, it's not like you're being babysat by someone who has been there longer. As I said, we're coming into the team, and you have to know what you bring to the table. And as my colleague said, just as much as you give, you make sure to get that knowledge, ask questions, especially if the environment is good for asking questions. Because in my case, it's great for asking questions. I could ask any question, about anything. And I also would say that don't really zone in on the whole climate finance, because as Priya said, it's more than just a climate finance fellowship. It really gives you a broad picture of the whole fight to climate change on a whole, and put in whatever area of expertise you have. If it's energy, if it's agriculture and food, so those would be that would be my biggest thing. Make sure that you feel like if you're responsible enough to take on something like this, if you do want to take the opportunity.
All right, thank you. Then we'll have Bright.
Yes, I'll just provide really short. So I think for me, I would say that you need to know your value. I think everyone already mentioned that, like what you can bring to the table, what you can bring to the team, because I mean, when you work in this MDBs, these people are all professional. They have like more than 10 years of experience. But I mean, you are young, you're youth, just started in this career, like what you can bring and added value to the team. I think this is also the big question when I first joined the team, and my supervisor asked me like what you can bring to us. Not just that, okay, I mean, I have some background working on nature-based solution, but what exactly can you do? Can you do some policy development? Can you do some capacity building? Can you provide us with a lecture on this? What about your youth network, for example, what you can do with it? So I think you have to work around what you have, your academic background, your professional background. Yeah, so I think that would be from my side.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, now we have come to the end of the question and answer part. So if you have questions for them before they drop off the call, please raise your hands and then we'll take them. While we're waiting for people to raise their hands, there have been some questions in the chat
There were
box
questions
and
in the chat, actually.
yes, I'm about to read them out, don't worry. Okay, so the very first one is it compulsory to be a national of Egypt, India, Kenya, Thailand, Jamaica, Tunisia for CIF? Okay, no. All right, perfect. The next one is what is the biggest advice you would give someone who wants to apply to CIF fellowship if this person has not so many experience in the climate change sector? Maybe Wissam, maybe you should take that.
I will start with the first question about the country. I believe that it will be a new list of countries. Still, we don't know, but I had that info that there will be a new list of countries, more or less. I don't know, but other international country will be available in the fellowship. It depends of the need that one of the MDBs in your country. That's very important to apply for this. If you are young and don't have enough experience, I believe that first of all, you need to study a lot to have that technical areas. First, think you need to have a good English. Mine is not that good, but I know that. But you have to communicate. Having another language can be helpful a lot, like French, Arabic, Italian. I don't know. Depend of the project that you work on. Also, for the most important thing is to have a clean and out to the point CV or resume, because believe me, reading like 1,000 of resume will be hard for them. So what they see is the big lines and what you did exactly. So try to have that in your CV with what you did, the skills that you gained. Your education also is very important, even if it's not related to the climate change, because the adaptation will be easy. And the last thing, always believe in the process. And even if you believe that you will not get accepted, believe me, I was one of those person, but I tried my best and I got accepted. So don't lose faith in yourself. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, the next question is there an age restriction? Okay, well, address that. The age is 22 to 30. Okay. So,
Just one thing.
yeah,
I think you should just wait to see if they're going to update that in the next cohort. I'm sure they're
yeah,
going to announce this in November and get that rolling. So
yeah.
we don't know what countries, what age limit, what projects there will be in the next cohort. We can just tell you what it was for us.
All right, perfect. Okay, so someone is asking, can you please share some tips for preparing for interview for a young professional program in climate finance? So basically just interview tips, like the type of questions you were asked, and if you can still remember. So maybe you should just share them. Renee, you should take it.
Okay, for the interview, but before we get to the interview, I would just like to touch on the actual application. As young people, we tend to use AI a lot, and some of the AI is predictive, language. So maybe you would want to maybe not use AI to answer your questions, and maybe give more of a personal account as to the reason why you would like to do the fellowship. Kind of leave the AI out because they want to know about you. When it comes to the actual interview and interview questions, I mean, you need to keep everything concise. If I'm not mistaken, it's going to be in English. So, that should be, you should have a good grasp of English. Some other questions that they ask about conflict in the workplace, seeing that we're young, how we might deal with conflict, Another question, they didn't really ask me anything out of the ordinary questions, like to give a background on yourself. They asked me to tell them about my business that I was working on. Some of the stuff that you put into the application, they want to hear some more, like elaborate on those things that you put down. So those things should be, of course, true, and so that you'll be able to expound on whatever you wrote there. And my final tip would be to ask a question back to them, because just as much as they want to hear from you, you kind of want to hear about what you're going to get yourself into. So the question that I had asked at the time of my interview was, what does a typical workday look like? Because in my mind, I have no idea about what does a typical day look like. Do you come and sit at the desk? Are you outside? Are you outside 50%? Are you inside 50%? Do you travel a lot? Are you in the office a lot? Is it work from home? All of those, kind of questions. You should ask a question to them that would be valuable to you to get a feel of what you're getting yourself into. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, the next question is, can you debrief on how the fellowship works? You are based on your home countries but reporting to the World Bank and the IFC. So basically, it's just asking, is it as you're based in your home country and then are you now reporting to the World Bank or the IFC? Bright, can you answer this?
Yes, so I think how it works is that you'll be working on the SAFE funded projects in your home countries. So I think this you have to look at where SAFE is funding the projects. Like for example, in Thailand, there's also under my project, SAFE also funded some part of it to the project, and then we work on this project basically. And we're not reporting to World Bank, even though we are under Climate Investment Fund, which is under World Bank Group. We report directly to our designated MDB. So in my case, ADB, Asian Development Bank. So I report it directly to my supervisor. But what's SIF providing to us is the capacity building activities. For example, we also had opportunities to go to Ghana to learn about SIP projects on the ground, how SIP implement projects with local people, what's the impact, and etc. And throughout the year, there's also online training capacity program that they also provide us on like climate finance, bringing expert within SIP and World Bank. And yeah, we do knowledge sharing throughout the year. So that's is the role of SIP throughout the year. But other than that, it's you and your MDB. So yeah, I think that's how it works in a simple way of explanation. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Bright. Okay, so the next question is, I am 31 now and I have climate research experience of 4 years with completed 7 researches on climate issues. Okay, person just asking for the fellowship link, sorry. The fellowship link isn't out yet, but when it's out, we'll share it to the academic group chat. Don't worry about that. We're in contact with them. Okay, the next one is, I'm currently a PhD researcher working on various climate-related issues, and I'm interested in joining the fellowship. However, I'm 32 years old and would like to know if there are opportunities available for someone of their age. So they're trying to know if there are like similar opportunities available for them, considering they have passed the age group already. Okay, Wissam.
Yeah, I will answer this question because you are young or youth as long as you are between 21 and 35. So if you heard there is any fellowship or program where you're young or youth in it, so on the UN form, you're applicable to apply for that. So I believe I had this information because I'm ready, like I will be 30 in 1 year. So I had that information. So I believe that would help you.
I also think you can keep a lookout for the Young Professional Program and just other programs that the World Bank has to offer. I know that the Young Professional Program also, it's not like this fellowship, but that also has a whole lot of training and shuffling between MDBs and different project roles as well. So maybe you can just read a little bit more about what are the programs the World Bank runs.
Yeah, also the UN have a young professional and UNICEF also, and there is the University of Environment in Germany also you can apply for. So there is a lot of opportunity there for, it's not depend on age, but if you're still under 35, you're considered young. Ask Priyo.
Okay,
And I
thank you.
also want to add on to that a bit. Actually, I mean, with a PhD or even master degrees, I think you can even consider internship with the MDBs. And these are actually paid internship, and you actually get competitive a stipend for interns as well. So I think maybe you can consider that because people with experience and also higher educational degrees, they usually accept this group of people. So I think you can maybe look through their websites and yeah.
Yeah, just also a note, sorry. If you're
Fine.
applying to be in the, if you're applying for intern or a position that not too high, try to don't say that you have a PhD because they will say that you're overqualified or they have to pay you higher because it depends of your education in the payment way. So always say that you have a master and put university name that you're working with them for those years and that's it.
Please don't deceive or lie on your application. They will find out. They do thorough background checks. They will find out.
That's quite fun. I have a question that I would love to ask you, as you might know, and we had a conversation before about kind of like our role as a constituency or youth advocates in the UN system in the context of like the reform of the financial architecture, or like where every like MDB also has to look at their own internal policies and kind of see like, okay, how do we adapt to the new paradigm of climate resilient development, or in this case, the youth empowerment. When we're talking about how youth will have to be ready to have the skills and engage with the projects that will affect directly with their communities. And as we're scaling up all of these climate projects, I believe more and more youth skills will be needed, youth development and youth involvement in this kind of like institutions and projects. And I want to know from your perspective, so is there any like, because we're all like trying to build the narratives here. So what do you think it would be like the role of a young person engaging in a financial institution? So if you would have to convince someone from that decides on policies on financial institutions on why should they engage with youth, and of course you're all best practices on that going well. So maybe from at that end, if you were a pitch elevator opportunity with someone from the World Bank or the IFC or Asian Development Bank or whatever, what would you say to them? Yeah, Wisem. And also Bright.
Yeah.
I think Bright is working directly on youth strategy, so I would love to hear that. And I know Renee has a lot to say as well, especially coming from the Caribbean in a climate vulnerable place. So lovely to hear. Please go ahead, Wisem.
Right, if you want to start or I will start.
You can start.
Okay, don't worry, I will keep it short. So for me, I believe as I answered this question, to convince people to work with you or to work with you, young people, you have to convince them that we are now have the innovation, we are now have more creative idea. Now we are having this, like the world is more younger, more smaller for us because to the social media, to the to LinkedIn, to ease getting to the information. So old people still like don't know how much that things work, or a lot of these things does work. So convincing them that we have like ideas and we can be more creative and we can help them figure up their business, or getting more outcome or income to their entities. That's, I believe, how that we can convince them. And every time there is a new thing up there, we can like skills or softwares. The young people are more easy to work with and to deal with. So I believe that's how we need to convince the other that we can be more effective and that the strategy is done. Right to you.
Thank you.
Yes. I think to add on to Wissam, I mean, besides that, we have this, fresh idea, we have innovative approach, we have these digital technologies in our hand. I think, yeah, what we can do, what the value added of youth is that we also engage with the community on the ground, right? We know what's going on, and I think that we can bring to the table. But I think from speaking from my experience, a bit of insight when I work with Asian Development Bank, and then I talk to my supervisor who is really high level. At the end, even though I mean you have a really creative idea, you have a lot of things that you want to change, but again, it's also up to them whether they want to adopt your decision or your strategies into their mandates or new guiding principle, for example, because I think at the end, like for me, I organized youth dialogue with when I was working under SIF fellowship, and what I can only do is that I gave out the suggested list of recommendation from youth perspective in water resources management sector and nature-based solution. Like what can we do better? How can we engage youth more effectively? But again, these are all the papers or strategies paper that I give. But yeah, the end decision, it's up to the high level whether or not they want to adopt it. Yeah.
So maybe what we're saying is that besides convincing the people inside, it's also important to put political pressure, so the people on the high level positions that get voted to be on those kind of positions also can kind of like adopt like that kind of like direction.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
That I guess that's our reflection. Renee, do you want to come in?
Yes. So in my case, I would say, everyone says the intergenerational space is best, right? Because as Bright said, maybe they will hear you but not implement some of the strategies that you want to take on as a youth. I would also say, it's really important to have youth around because some of the risks that in our mind it seems like not like a risk at all, and it seems like the way forward, maybe like an older person would not consider it that way or see it that way. And it would be very important for us to share, why, it might be a great idea to do a particular thing. Also, I think that it's important to have youth, the talent pipeline for any space, any organization, anywhere, who is going to be your successor if you don't have somebody in that pipeline, maybe like 10 years younger, 10 years younger, 10 years younger, somebody that you train right after you. So, I'm going to be 30 soon. I'll be looking to go to my University of the West Indies, and find that one person, two people, group of people that are interested in these types of things, and kind of give them some insight, because nobody did that for me. So I think it's important for us to be where the the people who have been for a while. I think it's important for us to also be there with them. Innovation can't happen without two different perspectives. If you're only going to paint the sky blue every time, and maybe you speak to a child and they say, why can't we do it in orange, like the sunset? It won't happen unless you have various ages of people within a space.
Yeah, I love that side of the innovation and the importance of intergenerational perspectives inside the organization, especially for that long-term and continuity kind of like legacy approach. I think that's quite brilliant. Thank you. Priyal, do you want to come in?
I think everyone said it really well. I'll just say that we shouldn't discount the experience, especially, I mean, you can have great ideas and not know how to execute them, which is, I think, where all of us are at the beginning of our career. We know what's wrong with the system. We probably know how to fix it or what the right way forward will be, but it's not, your ideas can't always translate um, into something that you imagine, because like we need to bring a youth perspective. We sort of also need the experience perspective to see how things are done, how they can be done, and nothing is right or wrong, but you just need different perspectives. And I feel like with the youth fellowship, that's what they try to do. They try to bring us in to see how you can do things differently.
No, thank you so much, Priyal. Maybe to end up and come back again to Bright, just a follow-up question on your work on like developing youth engagement activities and like the strategy for the Asian Development Bank as well. What do you think is the added value now for youth in this kind of projects or initiatives?
You mean like in general or like in which
Yeah, I mean,
areas?
in the context of skill development and the climate crisis, climate resilient development, those kind of like challenges that we're facing. How is like the Asian Development Bank contributing to the youth empowerment through this kind of like activities that you also contributed to make, like the nature-based solutions ones and so on. And now I believe that you're also working on a youth engagement strategy for the bank. So how does that add value to
Yeah.
youth?
Okay. Yes, yes. So actually, after the fellowship is over, I actually got hired as a youth engagement and climate change consultant with Asian Development Bank, but focus in Thailand. So I'm work with Thailand Resident Mission Asian Development Bank. So what we are planning to do is that we're planning to engage youth solutions on climate change. So for example, we have the project on smart city and climate resilience, water resource management. So what I'm planning to do is that I'm planning to engage youth solution to be integrated in the project initiated by ADB in Thailand. So I think what I kind of foresee, what the capacity of youth can do is that, these new fresh perspective idea of the solution to, let's say, smart city. How can we extract that from young people, and ADB, especially in Thailand, can adopt those solutions to be integrated in the project that we are trying to implement in Thailand. It's not implementing yet. We are planning everything, even my youth engagement strategies, because this will be implemented throughout the year, next year. So I'll be going to different regions in Thailand and maybe ask them come up with the process on how they can come up with these solutions that help with the city that they are living in, because in ADB we are not just working in Bangkok, but I mean there's also other regions that we also implementing projects. So I think that's what I'm trying to do, like bringing new idea, new perspective from youth, which I expect that that's gonna be something that I probably never expect that this the solution that they can think of to solve certain problem in that region. So yeah, I think that's probably the overview of my strategies. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Well, I don't want to take more time from you guys because I know it's busy Sunday as well, and we already been over the hour. So I want to thank you so much, all of the CIF fellows, for providing us with this amazing opportunity to speak with us and to also inspire our our participants that are also developing their own reports on multi-development banks and their role and so on, and how they can support youth. So thank you so much, and we're super proud of all the work that you've done. And see you on the next time, and thank you again.
Thank you so much,
So
guys.
with that being said, I want to just open up the mic for anyone else that wants to make an intervention or want to say something on the topics that we have been discussing, just to not leave the opportunity, not like take the opportunity out of the interactive space or the workshop. If any wants to also contribute to that kind of like discussion on what we're saying on why should MDBs, why should financial institutions include youth? And I know that all of you are working on similar kind of like in your reports. So if anyone wants to contribute, and you can open your mic, and if you want, and if not, we can also
Okay,
like close the call soon, but it will be
okay,
super great.
fine.
I know I'm gonna read all of your contributions.
Yes, I need to get started on that. Don't forget to sign the attendance as well while you're here.
Oh yeah, did we send the link? Yes.
Yes, I sent it. I'll send it again now.
There's an attendance link. We're gonna share it. And okay, so thank you so much, everyone. I guess we can close the call today. And
Yeah.
it was super fun. Learned a lot. And see you next week for the closing of the academy and
Academic.
our last session, which we are still confirming the time, but it will be there tomorrow most likely.
All right. Have a nice day, everyone.
Bye
Thank you so
bye.
much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Thank you.